I've been a freelance video editor for about 7 years now. My entire life, my entire career, is built around screens. So when my trusty old monitor finally gave up the ghost last month, I was in a bit of a panic. New 4K monitors, the kind I need for color grading, are insanely expensive. So I started scouring online marketplaces, classifieds, and then I stumbled upon an ad for an estate sale just a few towns over. They listed a bunch of high-end electronics. It felt a bit grim, picking through someone's life like that. But I needed a monitor, and my budget was tight. I found it in a dusty home office. A beautiful, sleek 27-inch 4K display. It was the exact model I'd been dreaming of, but could never justify buying new. The guy running the sales said the previous owner was a photographer. It seemed perfect. I paid a fraction of the retail price, loaded it into my car, and felt like I'd won the lottery. Back at my apartment, I cleaned it up, plugged it in, and ran a pixel test. My heart sank right there. Dead center was a single, tiny, black dot. A dead pixel. For a video editor, that's a nightmare. It's a constant distraction. A tiny void, right, where you're trying to focus. But for the price I paid, I told myself I could live with it. I'd just have to train my eyes to ignore it. A small price to pay for such a huge upgrade. The first couple of days were fine. I edited a wedding video, a corporate promo, and yeah, the dead pixel was annoying, but I managed. I could almost forget it was there. But then, on the third day, I started working on a personal project. It was a vlog I'd shot for my own small YouTube channel. Just me, talking to the camera in my living room. As I was scrubbing through the timeline, my eyes caught on the center of the screen. The pixel, it looked different. Bigger. I leaned in closer. It wasn't just a square black dot anymore. It was elongated, almost like a tiny vertical line. I blinked, rubbed my eyes. Maybe I was just overtired. Staring at screens all day can play tricks on you. I finished the edit, exported the video, and tried to put it out of my mind. The next day, I had to hop on a Zoom call with a new client. As we were talking, I found myself staring at my own little video feed on the monitor. And there it was. The black spot. It had definitely changed again. It wasn't just a line anymore. It had a little bump on top, and two tiny lines branching out from the sides. It looked like a stick figure, a tiny, black stick figure, standing right in the middle of my own face on the screen. A cold shiver went down my spine. This wasn't normal. Dead pixels don't grow. They don't change shape. I ran another pixel test. Solid colors: red, green, blue. The spot was still there, a weirdly shaped black blotch against the bright background. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was a cluster of pixels dying in a strange pattern, a manufacturing defect that was only now showing itself. It had to be. What else could it be? But the weirdest part, when I switched back to editing another client's project footage of a product, no people in it, the spot seemed to shrink back to a simple, small dot. It was only when I was looking at footage of myself that it took on this humanoid shape. Over the next week, it got worse. The silhouette, because that's what it was now, became more defined with every project that involved my own image. I was editing a tutorial video, and the figure now had discernible legs, a torso, a head. It was no longer a stick figure, but a solid silhouette of a person. It was standing in what looked like a vast, empty space within my screen, perfectly centered, and it was always in the footage of me. Never in client work. It was like it was tied to my own digital presence. The fear started to really set in. I couldn't focus. Every time I sat at my desk, my eyes were glued to that tiny, dark man in my monitor. He was just standing there, perfectly still, a silent observer in my digital world. I started to dread editing my own content. I even started turning down vlogging-style jobs. I was losing my mind, I thought. I was having some kind of stress-induced hallucination. One night, I was up late, pushing through a deadline. I was exhausted. My eyes were burning. I was editing a recording of a Zoom meeting I'd had earlier that day. I was just trimming the beginning, where I was waiting for the client to join. It was just a static shot of me, sitting at my desk, looking tired. I glanced at the silhouette, and then my heart stopped. It wasn't standing still anymore. One of its legs was slightly forward. It had taken a step. I literally jumped back from my desk, my chair rolling into the wall. I stared at the screen, my breath caught in my throat. I rewound the footage, played it again. There. Just as my own image flickered onto the screen, the silhouette's leg moved. It had taken a single, tiny step forward. It was getting closer. I couldn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that dark figure walking towards me from inside my monitor. The next morning, I went to my desk, my hands shaking. I couldn't bring myself to turn the computer on. I just sat there, staring at the blank, black screen of the monitor. And then, I saw it. It was faint, a barely there shadow against the dark glass. But it was there. The silhouette. It was bigger now, much bigger. And it was visible even with the monitor turned off. It was no longer a tiny figure in the distance. It was closer, as if it had been walking all night while the power was off. It was a dark shape burned into the glass itself, and I could swear, I could absolutely swear, that it was looking right at me. I unplugged the monitor. I wrapped it in a blanket and shoved it in my closet, behind a stack of old boxers. I bought a new monitor that day, paying with a credit card I knew I couldn't afford. I told myself it was over. It was just a faulty piece of hardware, a creepy, unexplainable, but ultimately harmless glitch. For a few days, things felt normal again. I worked on my new, clean, perfect screen. No dead pixels, no shadows. I started to feel silly, like I'd overreacted. Maybe it was just exhaustion after all. Then, last night, I was exporting a long video. It was going to take a few hours, so I decided to go to bed. I shut down my computer, turned off the lights in my office, and closed the door. My apartment was quiet. As I was lying in bed, trying to fall asleep, I heard a sound from the office. A soft, scraping sound. I told myself it was the building settling, or the fridge. Anything, but the sound came again. The soft tap, tap, tap against the inside of my office door. I lay frozen in my bed, listening. The tapping stopped, and then I saw it. Underneath the door, in the thin crack of light from the hallway, a shadow appeared. It was long and thin. It stretched, then moved, as if something on the other side of the door was pacing back and forth. And then, the doorknob began to turn. I haven't left my bedroom. I've pushed my dresser against the door. I can still hear it out there. The soft scraping, the occasional tap against the wood. Whatever was in that monitor isn't in there anymore. I think it got out, and I think it's looking for a new screen. Thanks for watching. Be careful what you buy at estate sales. Subscribe for more stories.